The great hall fell silent. Every ambassador from every corner of the galaxy sat frozen in their seats. The holographic display showed the same terrible image on repeat. Another colony world burned. Another billion souls lost to the Vrax swarm. Ambassador Kelrin of the Quillari stood at the central podium. His 4 eyes blinked slowly as he looked around the room. The Quillari were known across the galaxy as the wisest race. Their brains could process information faster than most computers. But right now even Kelrin did not know what to say. The Vrax had appeared 3 years ago. Nobody knew where they came from. They did not talk. They did not negotiate. They just consumed. World after world fell to their endless numbers. The insect creatures moved like a single organism, driven by one terrible mind. General Thoros of the Thalner people slammed his fist on the table. The sound echoed through the chamber. "We have lost 40% of our fleet," he growled. His voice carried the weight of too many battles. "My people have fought with honor for 3 years. We cannot hold them alone." The Thalner were warriors. They had defended the galaxy for centuries. If they were afraid, everyone should be afraid. Lady Esseri spoke next. Her voice was soft like wind through flowers. The Esseri were peaceful by nature. They had never started a war. "My people are fleeing their homeworld," she said. "We do not know how to fight. We only know how to run." Kelrin watched them all. Every face showed the same thing: fear, desperation. The galaxy was losing this war. Soon there would be nothing left but the Vrax. He took a deep breath. What he was about to suggest would change everything. Some would call him mad. Others would call him a traitor to all civilized life. "There is one option we have not discussed," Kelrin said. His voice was steady but quiet. "One weapon we locked away 200 years ago." The room erupted. Everyone knew what he meant. General Thoros stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "You cannot be serious," he said. "Have you lost your mind?" "The humans," someone whispered. The words spread through the chamber like poison. Lady Esseri covered her mouth. "No, anything but that. Do you remember what they did? The worlds they burned? The populations they enslaved?" Kelrin nodded slowly. "I remember. I was there. I saw the Terran War with my own eyes. I watched them conquer 20 star systems in 5 years. They were unstoppable, brutal, terrifying." He paused and looked at the burning world on the screen. "But they were also effective. They won every battle. They never retreated. They never surrendered." The Terran War was still taught in schools across the galaxy. It was a warning. A story of what happens when violence and intelligence combine. Humanity had exploded onto the galactic stage like a supernova. They built weapons nobody had imagined. They fought with tactics that seemed insane until they worked. Other races fought to win. Humans fought to annihilate. They did not accept surrender. They did not take prisoners. They simply removed their enemies from existence. It took the combined might of 12 galactic powers to stop them. Even then, it was not really a victory. The humans agreed to stop fighting. They agreed to stay in their solar system. They allowed the galaxy to build a containment field around their home, but everyone knew the truth. The humans had not been defeated. They had been negotiated with. They chose peace because continuing the war would have destroyed everything, including themselves. "We locked them away for good reason," General Thoros said. "They are monsters. Releasing them would be like fighting fire with a black hole." "Perhaps," Kelrin said, "but the Vrax are already a black hole. They are consuming our galaxy piece by piece. We need monsters to fight monsters." The debate lasted for hours. Arguments flew back and forth. Some ambassadors threatened to leave the council entirely if humans were released. Others saw no choice. Finally, they voted. The decision was close. Very close. But it passed. They would contact Earth. They would ask for help. They would release the humans. Lady Esseri wept quietly. General Thoros stared at his hands. Kelrin felt cold all over. They had just made a choice that could save the galaxy, or doom it forever. The envoy ship was prepared. It would carry 3 ambassadors to the edge of human space. They would transmit the message through the containment field. They would ask Earth for help. Kelrin volunteered to go. If this was his idea, he should face the consequences. General Thoros also joined. He wanted to see the humans with his own eyes, to judge if they had changed. Lady Esseri stayed behind. She could not bear to look at them again. The ship traveled for 3 days. As they approached the Sol system, sensors began picking up something strange. The containment field was still active. But behind it, something had changed. The pilot checked his readings twice. "Sir, I am detecting massive energy signatures. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands." Kelrin felt his blood run cold. "Weapons?" "Yes, sir. Weapon platforms. Defense satellites. Missile batteries. The entire system is armed. Every moon. Every asteroid, everything." General Thoros laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Of course. We locked them in a cage for 200 years. They spent that time building weapons. What else would humans do?" The ship stopped at the edge of the containment field. Before they could send their message, a voice came through the communication system. It was human. It was cold. "Unidentified vessel. You have entered restricted space. State your purpose or be destroyed. You have 30 seconds. Kelrin stepped forward quickly. "This is Ambassador Kelrin of the Galactic Council. We come in peace. We need to speak with your leaders." "It is urgent." There was a long pause. Then the voice spoke again. "The same Galactic Council that imprisoned us? That declared us too dangerous to exist among civilized races?" Kelrin felt shame burn in his chest. "Yes, the same council. We made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But now we need your help." Another pause. Then the voice said something that made Kelrin's heart skip. "Weapons are locked on your vessel. If you try to leave or move, you will be destroyed. A shuttle will dock with your ship in 5 minutes. Do not resist. Do not attempt to scan our systems. Comply or die." The transmission ended. The three ambassadors looked at each other. They were in human hands now, at their mercy. Just like old times, General Thoros checked his sidearm. Kelrin put a hand on his arm. "Do not even think about it. If we show aggression, they will kill us without question. We came here asking for help. Now we must trust them." "Trust them?" Thoros growled. "I would sooner trust a black hole." "Then you understand humans perfectly," Kelrin said quietly. "Black holes can destroy anything, but they can also be the most powerful force in the universe. That is what we need. That is what we came here to release." The shuttle arrived exactly on time. It was small, efficient, covered in weapons. Very human. The airlock opened. 2 soldiers stepped through. They wore armor that looked like it could survive a nuclear blast. Their weapons were pointed forward, not quite aimed at the ambassadors, not quite aimed away. "Follow us," one soldier said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. "Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not touch anything. Do not make sudden movements." They boarded the shuttle. The ride was silent. Kelrin looked out the window as they passed through the containment field. Inside he saw Earth, beautiful, blue and green and alive. He also saw the weapons. Thousands of them. Platforms the size of cities. Satellites bristling with missiles. Laser arrays that could cut through starship armor like paper. The humans had not wasted their time. They had turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Into a weapon. The galaxy had made a terrible mistake 200 years ago. They had locked up the most dangerous species in known space. They had given them time. Time to prepare, time to build, time to plan. Now they were going to ask those same humans to save them. Kelrin closed his eyes. He wondered if this would be remembered as the day the galaxy was saved, or the day it made its final fatal mistake. The shuttle descended toward a military base on Earth's moon. Kelrin could see soldiers everywhere. Hundreds of them, all armed, all watching, already ready for war. The only question was who they would fight. The Vrax or the galaxy itself? The conference room was deep underground. Kelrin could feel the weight of the moon above him. Or perhaps it was just the weight of what he was about to do. General Thoros stood beside him. The Thalner warrior had not stopped scanning the room since they arrived. Looking for threats, for weaknesses, finding none. The door opened. A human woman entered. She wore a military uniform covered in medals. Her hair was gray. Her face was lined with scars. Her eyes were the coldest things Kelrin had ever seen. "I am General Maria Santos," she said. Her voice matched her eyes. "Commander of Earth Defense Forces. You have 5 minutes to explain why I should not kill you where you stand." Kelrin had prepared a speech, carefully worded, diplomatic. It all vanished from his mind. This woman was not interested in diplomacy. "The galaxy is dying," he said simply. "An enemy called the Vrax Swarm is destroying everything. We have lost 40% of our military forces. Hundreds of worlds have fallen. Billions are dead. We came to ask for your help." Santos stared at him for a long moment. Then she laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Let me understand this correctly. 200 years ago, your council declared humanity too dangerous to exist. You locked us in our own solar system. You built a prison around our home. You treated us like animals." She leaned forward. "Now you have a problem you cannot solve. So you come here, to the monsters, to the savages, to ask us to save you." Kelrin felt shame burn through him. Every word was true. Every word was deserved. "Yes," he said quietly. "That is exactly what we are doing. We were wrong. We were afraid of you. Perhaps we still are. But we are more afraid of extinction." General Thoros stepped forward. "I fought in the Terran War," he said. His voice was hard. "I saw what your people did to the Calrix colonies. You did not just defeat them. You erased them. Every man, every woman, every child. Gone." Santos turned her cold eyes to him. "The Calrix attacked Earth. They bombed our cities from orbit. They killed 3 billion humans in the first strike. Did your precious council tell you that part of the story?" Thoros said nothing. Kelrin felt sick. No. The council had not mentioned that. They had only talked about human brutality, human savagery, not what caused it. "We do not start wars," Santos said. "But we finish them. That is what made your council afraid. You fight to win territory, to gain resources. We fight to ensure our enemies never threaten us again. Ever." She walked to the window, looked out at Earth hanging in space. "You locked us away like criminals. We spent 200 years in this cage. Do you know what we did with that time?" Kelrin had seen. The weapons, the defenses, enough firepower to destroy a small fleet. "We prepared," Santos said. "We knew this prison would not last forever. Either we would break out, or someone would break in. We built weapons for both scenarios. Every human in this system knows how to fight. Every station is armed. Every ship can become a missile." She turned back to face them. "We are not the same humans you fought 200 years ago. We are harder, angrier, more dangerous. You took our freedom. You took our place among the stars. You gave us nothing but time to imagine revenge." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Kelrin wondered if they would leave this room alive. If Santos had already decided to kill them, to send a message to the galaxy written in blood. "But revenge is a luxury," Santos continued. "And apparently, the galaxy does not have the luxury of time. Tell me about this Vrax swarm." Kelrin explained everything, the sudden appearance of the Vrax, their insect-like nature, the hive mind that controlled them, their endless numbers, their complete inability to negotiate or reason, the way they consumed entire worlds and moved on to the next. Santos listened without interrupting. When Kelrin finished, she was quiet for a long time. "Show me," she said finally. "I want to see combat footage, battle reports, everything." They spent the next 2 hours reviewing data. Santos watched everything with those cold, calculating eyes. She asked sharp questions, tactical questions, questions that made Kelrin realize she was already thinking about how to fight them. "Your fleets fight defensively," Santos said. It was not a question. "You try to minimize casualties, save civilians, preserve infrastructure." "Of course," Kelrin said. "We are civilized people. We do not wage total war." "That is why you are losing," Santos said. "The Vrax do not care about casualties. They do not care about infrastructure. They only care about consuming and spreading. You cannot fight that kind of enemy with civilized warfare." She stood up. "I need to show you something. Follow me." They walked through corridors deep in the lunar base. Soldiers saluted as Santos passed. Every one of them looked hard, ready, like weapons waiting to be fired. They entered a massive hangar. Kelrin stopped and stared. Ships, hundreds of them. But not like any ships he had seen before. These were covered in weapons, bristling with missiles and guns and energy cannons. These are not exploration vessels, Santos said. Not transport ships, not even traditional warships. These are killing machines. Every system designed for one purpose: destroy the enemy. She walked to one ship, touched its hull like a parent touching a child. This one carries nuclear weapons, 50 of them. Each one powerful enough to crack a moon in half. It has no shields, no defensive systems, just engines, weapons, and a pilot seat. Thoros stared at her. That is a suicide ship. The pilot would die in any engagement. Yes, Santos said simply. We have 3,000 of them, and 3,000 pilots who volunteered to fly them. Humans understand sacrifice. We understand that sometimes winning means dying. Does your council understand that? Kelrin felt cold all over. This was why the galaxy feared humans. Not just because they were violent, but because they were willing to pay any price for victory, even their own lives. Santos showed them more. Chemical weapons banned by every galactic treaty. Kinetic kill vehicles that could strike a planet from orbit. Biological agents that could wipe out entire ecosystems. Weapons designed not to win battles but to end wars. We built these over 200 years, Santos said. We tested them, refined them, made them perfect. We knew one day we would need them. We just did not know if we would use them to escape our prison or defend it. She turned to face Kelrin directly. Now you want us to use them for you, to save your galaxy, the same galaxy that imprisoned us. Why should we? Why should we risk human lives for aliens who called us monsters? Kelrin had no good answer. No diplomatic words, just the truth. Because you are right. We are losing. And if we lose, eventually the Vrax will find Earth. They will break through your containment field. They will consume your world just like they consumed ours. Helping us is helping yourselves. Santos studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled. It was not a kind smile. So you are saying we have no choice. Help you, or die alone. Yes, Kelrin said. That is exactly what I am saying. I am sorry we locked you away. I am sorry we treated you like monsters. But right now I need monsters. The galaxy needs monsters. Will you help us? Santos was quiet for a very long time. Then she spoke. If we help you, there are conditions. First, the containment field comes down. Forever. Humanity gets full freedom to travel and settle wherever we choose. Kelrin nodded. Agreed. Second, Earth gets a permanent seat on the Galactic Council, with full voting rights, equal to any other member. That would be harder to approve. But Kelrin nodded again. Agreed. Third, we fight this war our way. You do not question our tactics. You do not limit our weapons. You do not tell us to be civilized. We fight to win. Nothing else matters. Can your council accept that? Kelrin thought about what that meant. Unrestricted warfare. Human warfare. The kind that erased entire species from existence. The council would be horrified. But what choice did they have? They will accept it, he said. Because the alternative is extinction. Santos extended her hand. A human gesture. Kelrin took it. Her grip was like iron. Then we have a deal, Santos said. Go back to your council. Tell them to start taking down the containment field. Tell them humanity is coming. Tell them we will save their galaxy. She smiled that terrible smile again. And tell them to stay out of our way. As Kelrin and Thoros left the base, the Thalner warrior spoke quietly. We just made a deal with darkness itself. Kelrin watched as the containment field began to power down. After 200 years, humanity was free. Free to travel, free to fight, free to remind the galaxy why they were feared. Yes, Kelrin said softly. But perhaps darkness is what we need. The Vrax are coming. And now, so are the humans. Behind them, Santos stood on the observation deck. She watched the field collapse. Watched the stars become visible again. Human stars. Human territory. Human future. She activated her communicator. All forces, this is Santos. Prepare for immediate deployment. We are going to war. Across the solar system, Ships began to wake up. Weapons came online. Soldiers took their positions. Humanity had been caged for 200 years. Now they were free, and they had 200 years of anger to release. The galaxy was about to remember what it meant to unleash the humans. The human fleet emerged from the Sol system like a swarm of angry hornets. 300 warships, each one designed for a single purpose: killing. Commander Ryla of the Quillari Defense Force watched them approach on her sensors. She had fought the Vrax for 3 years. She thought she knew what warships looked like. She was wrong. These ships were different. No elegant curves. No decorative elements, just angular metal covered in weapons. They moved fast, too fast, like they were eager to reach the battle. "Human fleet, this is Commander Ryla," she transmitted. "We are pleased to have you join us. We have been holding position at the Krell system. The Vrax are massing for an attack. We estimate 3 days until they arrive. Our strategy is to establish defensive positions around the inhabited planets and evacuate as many civilians as possible." The response came quickly. The voice was harsh, military. "Commander Ryla, this is Colonel David Jackson of the Human Expeditionary Force. We are not interested in defensive positions. Send us the coordinates of the Vrax fleet. We will engage immediately." Ryla blinked in confusion. "Colonel, you misunderstand. The Vrax outnumber us 5 to 1. We cannot engage them in open space. We must use the planet's orbital defenses to even the odds." "Commander, you misunderstand," Jackson replied. "We did not come here to defend. We came here to attack. Now send us those coordinates or we will find them ourselves." Ryla looked at her tactical officer. He looked as confused as she felt. Finally, she transmitted the Vrax fleet position. The human ships immediately changed course. "Moving toward the enemy, not away toward." "They are insane," her tactical officer whispered. "They will be destroyed." Ryla was not so sure. She remembered the stories from the Terran War. Perhaps insanity was exactly what they needed. The human fleet reached the Vrax position in 6 hours. The insect ships immediately swarmed toward them. Thousands of Vrax fighters, hundreds of larger vessels. They moved like a living thing, flowing, adapting, surrounding. The humans did not try to evade. They accelerated, straight into the swarm. What happened next would be studied in military academies for generations. The human ships spread out into attack formation. Then they opened fire, not with precise, careful shots, with everything. Every weapon, every missile, every gun. All at once, space lit up like a star. Nuclear explosions bloomed in the darkness. Kinetic rounds tore through Vrax ships like paper. Energy weapons carved burning lines through the swarm. The Vrax had never faced this. Enemies usually tried to survive. These humans were trying to kill. Only kill. They rammed damaged Vrax ships rather than evade. They detonated their own vessels when surrounded, taking dozens of enemy craft with them. Ryla watched in horror and amazement. They are not fighting like soldiers. They are fighting like berserkers. Her tactical officer checked his sensors. The Vrax are retreating. "I do not believe it." "They are actually retreating. It was true." For the first time in 3 years, the Vrax were pulling back. Not because they were defeated, but because the humans were too costly to fight. The swarm lost 3 ships for every human vessel destroyed. That was a ratio the Vrax had never experienced. Colonel Jackson's voice came through the communication channel. He sounded calm, like he had just completed a training exercise. "Commander Ryla, the Vrax are retreating toward the Helios Nebula. We are pursuing. Recommend your forces follow at a safe distance." "Colonel, you have already lost 40 ships," Ryla said. "You should regroup, repair, resupply." "Commander, we do not regroup until the enemy is destroyed. That is how we fight. Get used to it." The human fleet chased the Vrax for 3 days. Every time the swarm tried to regroup, the humans attacked. No rest, no mercy. Just constant pressure, constant death. Ambassador Kelrin arrived at the Krell system with other council observers. They needed to see what humanity could do, what they had unleashed. General Santos met them on Ryla's command ship. "You wanted to see how we fight," Santos said. "Now you can watch." She pulled up tactical displays. The Vrax are regrouping in the Helios system. There is a colony there, 2 billion inhabitants, mostly Quillari. The Vrax will consume them to replenish their numbers. Kelrin felt cold. "Can you save them?" Santos looked at him with those cold eyes. "No. but I can make sure the Vracs gain nothing from their deaths. Colonel Jackson has deployed chemical weapons in the upper atmosphere. Within 12 hours, the entire planet will be toxic. To the colonists, to the Vracs, to everything. Kelrin stood up so fast his chair fell over. You cannot do that. There are 2 billion people down there. Civilians, children. They are already dead, Santos said flatly. The Vracs will reach the surface in 10 hours. We cannot evacuate 2 billion people in 10 hours. So we have 2 choices. Let the Vracs consume them and grow stronger, or deny the Vracs that resource. You are murdering them, Kelrin said. His voice shook with rage. This is exactly why we locked you away. You have no regard for life, no morality. You are monsters. Santos stepped close to him. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Yes, we are monsters. You knew that when you released us. You do not get to complain now. You wanted us to save your galaxy. This is what saving looks like. It is ugly, it is brutal. But it works. She turned away. The Vracs have consumed hundreds of worlds. Trillions of lives. We just denied them one world. 2 billion versus trillions. The math is simple. This is war, real war. Not the civilized games you have been playing. Kelrin wanted to argue. Wanted to stop this. But he knew she was right. The Vracs would reach that planet. They would consume every living thing. At least this way they gained nothing. He sat down slowly. How do you live with this? He asked quietly. How do you make these choices? Santos looked tired suddenly. Older. We live with it because the alternative is extinction. Every human who died in our wars. Every world we burned. Every terrible choice we made. It was all to ensure humanity survives. That is all that matters. Survival. Over the next weeks, the human forces pushed deeper into Vracs territory. They did not try to save worlds. They destroyed them. Burned them. Made them useless. Every planet the Vracs wanted became a poisoned wasteland. The Council watched in horror. But they could not deny the results. The Vracs' advance had stopped. For the first time in 3 years, the swarm was not growing. It was shrinking. General Thoros spoke to Santos after one particularly brutal engagement. Your tactics are effective. But at what cost? How many of our own worlds have you destroyed to deny them to the enemy? 17, Santos said without hesitation. 17 worlds. 30 billion lives. All already doomed. All used to weaken the enemy. She looked at him. You can hate me if you want. You can call me a monster. But when this war is over, the galaxy will still exist. That is more than you could say before we arrived. Lieutenant Chen was a young human pilot. She had volunteered for the suicide ships. The ones with no shields, no hope of survival, just weapons and a mission. She had survived 3 engagements through luck alone. After one battle, she found herself sharing a transport with a Thalner warrior named Korath. He had fought in the Terran War. He hated humans. Or thought he did. Why do you volunteer for these suicide missions? He asked her. You are young. You could fly a regular fighter. You could survive. Chen smiled. It was a sad smile. Because someone has to. The Vracs will not stop. They will consume everything. My family, my friends, my world. So I fly. I fight. I make sure they pay for every meter of space they take. Korath studied her. She was not a monster. She was not evil. She was just willing to die to protect what she loved. Perhaps that was what made humans so dangerous. Not cruelty, but dedication. You remind me of the Thalner, he said finally. We fight with honor. We die with pride. Perhaps you are not so different from us, Chen laughed. Maybe. Or maybe we are all just trying to survive in a galaxy that wants us dead. The only difference is we refuse to die quietly. Human intelligence units worked day and night. They studied the Vracs, analyzed their patterns, searched for weaknesses, and they found something. The Vracs were not truly individual creatures. They were all connected to a central mind. A queen, if they could find her. Kill her. The entire swarm would collapse. Santos brought the information to Kelrin. We found their weakness. The queen mind. She is located somewhere in the core of Vracs territory. If we can kill her, we win. Kelrin felt hope for the first time in years. Then we send a fleet. A massive strike force. We end this. Santos shook her head. It is not that simple. The Queen Mind is protected by millions of Vracs ships, fortified worlds, defensive stations. A fleet large enough to fight through all that would leave the rest of the galaxy undefended. The Vracs would just consume everything while we were busy. Then what do we do? Kelrin asked. Santos looked at him with those cold eyes. But now Kelrin saw something else in them. Determination. Sacrifice. We send a small force. Fast ships. Suicide ships. Enough firepower to kill a world. And enough volunteers willing to die to deliver it. Kelrin understood. This was the human way. Not a glorious battle. Not a heroic victory. Just cold mathematics. A handful of lives to save trillions. How many volunteers do you need? He asked quietly. 50,000, Santos said. 50,000 humans. Flying into certain death. To save a galaxy that called them monsters. She smiled that terrible smile. We already have 60,000 volunteers. The council chamber had never been so quiet. Every ambassador sat in their seats staring at the holographic display. It showed the human plan. The suicide mission to the Vrax homeworld. 50,000 volunteers. One-way trip. No chance of return. Lady Asiri was the first to speak. Her voice trembled. This is madness. You are sending 50,000 people to die. How can you ask that of anyone? Santos stood at the podium. She looked tired. The war had aged her. I am not asking. They volunteered. Every single one of them knows this is a one-way mission. They are going anyway. General Thoros stood up. The council cannot approve this. It violates every principle of civilized warfare. We do not send soldiers on suicide missions. We do not waste lives like this. Then do not approve it, Santos said coldly. We do not need your permission. We never did. We agreed to help you. This is how we help. You can accept it or you can try to stop us. But I promise you, trying to stop us will not end well for anyone. The threat hung in the air. The council had released humanity. Now they were learning they could not control them. Kelrin spoke carefully. General Santos, we understand the military necessity. But politically, this is difficult. Our people are already disturbed by human tactics. The destroyed worlds, the chemical weapons, the civilian casualties. If you launch this mission without council approval, it could destroy the alliance. Santos turned to face him directly. Ambassador, let me be clear. Humanity did not join this war to make friends. We joined to survive. The Vrax will reach Earth eventually, so we are fighting them now here, with everything we have. Your approval would be nice, but it is not required. She pulled up new images. Vrax-consumed worlds. Dead systems. Empty space where civilizations used to exist. This is what happens when you fight civilized wars against an enemy that does not care about civilization. You lose, you die, you are forgotten. Is that what you want? Nobody answered. The truth was brutal but undeniable. Before humanity arrived, the galaxy was losing. Now they had a chance. A terrible, bloody, horrifying chance. But still a chance. The council voted. It was not unanimous. Many abstained. Some voted against, but enough voted yes. The human mission was approved. Or at least not forbidden. Santos left the chamber without another word. She had a mission to prepare. 50,000 people to organize, and very little time to do it. On the human carrier ship Indomitable, the volunteers gathered. They came from every human colony, every station, every walk of life. Pilots and engineers, soldiers and scientists, young and old. All united by one thing. They were willing to die to save humanity. And apparently the rest of the galaxy too. Lieutenant Chen stood with her squadron. 12 pilots. 12 suicide ships. They had trained together for months, fought together, survived together. Now they would die together. Her friend Marcus smiled at her. Nervous? Terrified, Chen admitted, but also ready. This is why we joined. This is what we trained for. To make a difference, Marcus nodded.
My daughter is 7.
She lives on Mars. I want her to grow up in a galaxy without the Vrax. If I have to die to make that happen, it is worth it. That was the thing about the volunteers. They were not suicidal. They were not crazy. They just loved something more than they feared death. For some it was family. For others it was humanity. For a few it was the simple desire to matter, to do something that would be remembered. General Santos addressed them all. Her voice was carried through every ship, every fighter, every bomber. You all know the mission. Breach the Vrax homeworld defenses. Deliver the planet killer weapon. Destroy the Queen Mind. It will not be easy. Most of you will not make it to the target, but some of you will, and that is enough. She paused. I will not lie to you. This is a one-way trip. There are no rescue plans, no extraction. You fly in. You complete the mission. You do not come home. Another pause. The galaxy will remember what you do here. They will remember that humanity, when asked to help, did not hesitate, did not calculate the cost, did not demand rewards. You are showing them what it means to be human, what it means to fight for something bigger than yourself. Her voice softened. I am proud of every one of you. Humanity is proud of you. Now go show the Vracs why they should fear us. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The fleet launched. 50,000 ships. Some were small fighters. Others were massive bombers carrying nuclear weapons. All of them were flying towards certain death. The journey took 2 weeks. They flew through Vracs territory, past consumed worlds, through debris fields that used to be civilizations. The Vracs attacked constantly. Small raids, trying to wear them down, destroy them before they reached the homeworld. The human fleet did not try to avoid combat. They welcomed it. Every Vrac ship they destroyed was one less defending the target. They fought with the same brutal efficiency they had shown throughout the war. No surrender, no retreat, just death. By the time they reached the Vracs' homeworld, 30,000 ships had been destroyed. 30,000 volunteers dead, but 20,000 remained. Still enough. Still dangerous. The homeworld defenses were massive. Millions of Vracs fighters, orbital platforms, energy shields. Enough firepower to destroy a galactic armada. The humans looked at it and smiled. Because they were not an armada, they were a missile, and missiles do not need to survive. They just need to hit the target. General Santos commanded from Earth. She watched the sensors as her people flew to their deaths. Every blip that disappeared was a life lost. A volunteer who would never come home. She forced herself to watch every single one. It was the least she could do. Ambassador Kelrin stood beside her. He had not left the command center since the mission launched. He needed to see this, needed to witness what humanity was willing to do, what they were sacrificing for a galaxy that had imprisoned them. Do you think they will succeed? He asked quietly. Santos kept her eyes on the display. They will succeed because failure is not an option. Those pilots know if they fail, everything they sacrificed means nothing. So they will not fail. They cannot. The battle at the Vracs' homeworld lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of constant death. Human ships threw themselves at the defenses like waves against a cliff. Each wave wore the defenses down a little more, opened the path a little wider. Lieutenant Chen's squadron made it through the outer defenses. Barely. She had started with 12 ships. Now she had 3. Marcus was still alive. So was Rodriguez. The others were gone. This is Chen, she transmitted. We have breached the inner perimeter. Multiple bombers have made it through. We can deliver the payload. Proceeding to target coordinates. Santos's voice came through, clear and steady. Confirmed, Lieutenant. You are authorized to deliver the weapon. Make it count. Chen looked at her display. The Queen Mind was below, surrounded by millions of Vracs, protected by shields and weapons and the collective will of the entire swarm. But there were gaps, weaknesses. The human assault had created openings, opportunities. She armed her weapons. Every missile, every bomb, everything she had. This was it, the moment her whole life had been leading to. Marcus Rodriguez, it has been an honor flying with you. Honor has been ours, Marcus replied. See you on the other side. The 3 ships dove toward the surface. Vracs fighters swarmed them. Energy blasts tore through space. Rodriguez's ship exploded in a ball of fire. Then Marcus's. Chen was alone. Her ship was damaged. Engines failing. Shields gone. She had maybe 30 seconds before the Vracs destroyed her. But 30 seconds was enough. She could see the Queen Mind now. A massive organic structure, pulsing with bioenergy. The heart of the swarm. Chen armed the planet killer. It was the last one. Other bombers had been destroyed before they could deliver their payloads. Everything depended on her now. On one damaged ship, one dying pilot. One last chance, she whispered to herself. For Earth, for humanity, for everyone who died to get me here. Then something impossible happened. A voice filled her mind. Not human, not spoken through technology. Just there, inside her thoughts. The Queen Mind was trying to communicate. Images flooded her consciousness. The Vracs' perspective. They were not evil, not malicious. They were just following their nature. Consume, grow, spread, like any living thing. They did not understand concepts like mercy or negotiation, only survival. The Queen Mind showed her more, showed her the Vrak's confusion at human behavior. Why did humans throw away their lives? Why did they fight when survival meant retreat? Why did they sacrifice themselves for others? The Swarm Mind could not comprehend it. Individual Vraks were nothing. Only the swarm mattered. But humans were different. Each one chose to fight, chose to die, chose sacrifice. Chen smiled through her tears. That is the difference between us. You are a swarm. We are individuals who choose to become something greater. You cannot understand that. You will never understand that. She released the weapon. This is for everyone you consumed, everyone you destroyed, and everyone I love. The planet killer detonated. Not a nuclear explosion. Something worse. A weapon designed to tear apart a world from the inside, to break molecular bonds, to reduce matter to its most basic elements. The Queen Mind screamed. Not with sound, with psychic energy. A death cry felt across the galaxy. Every Vrax felt it. Every creature connected to the Swarm Mind experienced that moment of absolute ending. The moment the Queen Mind died, sensors across the galaxy recorded it. A psychic shockwave. Brief but unmistakable. Every telepath felt it. Every sensitive instrument detected it. And everyone knew what it meant. The Vrax were broken. General Santos stood in the command center. Her display showed the results. Vrax forces across the galaxy stopped coordinating. Ships drifted. Ground forces wandered aimlessly. Without the Queen Mind, they were just insects. Mindless, harmless. Ambassador Kelrin watched the data stream in. Tears ran down his face. They had won. After 3 years of losing, of retreating, of watching worlds burn, they had finally won. But the victory felt hollow. He looked at the casualty reports. 48,000 human volunteers dead. 48,000 people who would never see this moment. Never know they had saved the galaxy. They did it, he whispered. Your people did it. Santos nodded slowly. Her face showed no emotion. But Kelrin had learned to see past that mask. She was grieving. For every pilot she had sent to die, for every volunteer who would never come home. Yes, she said quietly. They did. Just like I knew they would. Humans do not fail when everything depends on success. She turned away. Now comes the hard part. Now we have to live with what we did, the choices we made, the lives we sacrificed. Across the galaxy, galactic forces moved to clean up the remaining Varax. Without coordination, the insects were easy to destroy. What had been an unstoppable swarm became target practice. Within weeks, the last Vrax ship was eliminated. Within months, the last ground forces were cleared from occupied worlds. The Vrax War was over. Humanity had won it. The Galactic Council called for a memorial ceremony. It would be held on the Grand Convergence Station. Every race would attend. Every species would pay tribute to those who died. Especially the humans. The day arrived. The Great Hall was filled. Ambassadors from 100 worlds, representatives of 1,000 colonies, all gathered to remember, to honor, to grieve. Lady Esseri spoke first. The Esseri were peaceful people. They had suffered greatly in the war, lost much, but they had also learned much. We gathered here today to honor the fallen, to remember those who gave everything so we might live. We especially honor the humans, who came to our aid when we needed them most, who fought with courage we did not know existed, who sacrificed more than we had any right to ask. Her voice broke. 200 years ago we locked them away, called them monsters, said they were too dangerous to exist among civilized races. We were wrong. They are not monsters. They are heroes, the greatest heroes this galaxy has ever known. General Thoros stood next. The old warrior looked different now. Less angry, less proud, more humble. I fought in the Terran War. I saw what humans could do when they were angry, when they were hurt. I hated them for it, feared them. But now I understand. Humans do not fight because they love violence. They fight because they love what they are protecting. That is the difference. That is what makes them dangerous, and that is what makes them irreplaceable. He looked directly at the human delegation. I apologize. To all of you. For my hatred, my prejudice, my failure to see what you truly are. You saved us all, and I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that sacrifice. Ambassador Kelrin spoke last. His 4 eyes were red from crying. I proposed releasing the humans. Many called me mad. said I would doom the galaxy. Perhaps they were right. Perhaps I was mad. But if so, it was a necessary madness. He paused, gathered his thoughts. Humanity showed us something we had forgotten. That survival requires sacrifice. That peace requires war. That civilization requires people willing to do uncivilized things to protect it. We did not want to learn that lesson. But the Vrax forced us to. He looked at the memorial wall. It displayed the names of every human volunteer. 48,000 names, 48,000 stories that would never be finished. These people did not die for humanity alone. They died for all of us. For the Quillari, for the Thalner, for the Esseri, for every species in this galaxy. They died so we might live. His voice strengthened. And we will remember. Every name, every sacrifice, every act of courage. Humanity at its worst is terrifying. Humanity at its best is unstoppable. Today we honor humanity at its absolute best. The ceremony lasted for hours. Speeches and tributes, music and silence. By the end there was not a dry eye in the hall. Even the humans wept, for their lost comrades, for the friends who would never come home. General Santos did not speak during the ceremony. She stood in the back, silent, watching. When it ended, Kelrin found her standing alone before the memorial wall. You should have spoken, he said quietly. You led them, commanded them. They followed you into death. The galaxy should hear your words. Santos shook her head. I sent them to die. I do not get to profit from their sacrifice by making speeches. The only tribute I can give them is to carry the weight of what I did, every day. For the rest of my life, she touched one name on the wall. Lieutenant Sarah Chen. She was 24. Volunteered the day we announced the mission. Never hesitated. Never questioned. Just flew to her death because I ordered it.
How do you live with that?
Kelrin had no answer. Perhaps there was no answer. Perhaps some weights were not meant to be lightened. You live with it by making sure it mattered, he said finally. By building a galaxy worthy of their sacrifice. By never forgetting what they gave us. Santos nodded slowly. Then I suppose we should get to work. The Galactic Council formally welcomed humanity. Granted them a permanent seat. Full voting rights. Equal status with any other species. It was everything the humans had demanded. Everything they had earned. But more than that, attitudes changed. The fear remained. How could it not? Humans were still the most dangerous species in known space, still capable of terrible things. But now that fear was mixed with respect, with gratitude, with understanding, human colonies spread across the galaxy, not as conquerors, as settlers, traders, explorers. They brought their culture, their technology, their unique perspective, and slowly the galaxy learned that humans were more than weapons. They were also artists, scientists, teachers, friends. Years passed. A generation grew up that had never known the Vrax, never seen the war. They learned about it in schools, studied the tactics, analyzed the battles, but it was history to them, not living memory. On Earth in the capital city they built a memorial, a statue of General Santos standing tall, her eyes looking toward the stars. At her feet the names of the 50,000, and an inscription. Simple words that said everything. It read, Humanity at its worst is terrifying. Humanity at its best is unstoppable. Here stand those who were unstoppable. May we never forget their sacrifice. May we always strive to be worthy of it. A young human girl visited the memorial on a school trip. She was 10 years old, bright and curious. She read all the names, studied the statue, asked her teacher questions. Teacher, will the galaxy ever need to release the humans again? She asked. Will we have to fight another war like this? The teacher looked at the statue, at the names, at the inscription. She had lived through the war, lost friends in it, knew the cost of victory. I hope not, she said quietly. I truly hope not. But if they do, humanity will answer. We always do. That is what makes us human. We fight for what we love. We sacrifice for what matters. We never give up. Never surrender. Never stop. The girl looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there the galaxy continued. Peaceful now. Safe. Because of the people whose names were carved in stone behind her. Then I hope they never need us again, she said. But if they do, I will be ready. Just like they were. The teacher smiled sadly. That was the blessing and curse of humanity. Every generation ready to sacrifice. Every generation willing to pay the price. It made them terrifying. It made them heroes. It made them unstoppable. On the Grand Convergence Station, Ambassador Kelrin watched human ships pass by. Cargo vessels. Science ships. Exploration craft. Not warships. Not weapons. Just people living their lives. Contributing to the galaxy. Being part of something greater. General Thoros stood beside him. The old warrior was retired now, but he still came to the station. Still watched the ships. Still remembered. Do you think we made the right choice? Thoros asked. Releasing them? Letting them back into the galaxy? Kelrin thought about it. About the war. The sacrifices. The terrible things humans had done to save them all. I think we made the only choice. And yes, it was the right one. They saved us, all of us. How could that be wrong? Thoros nodded. I agree. But I am glad we do not have to make that choice again. One Vrax war was enough for a lifetime. Yes, Kelrin said softly. One was more than enough. They stood in silence, watching the ships, remembering the fallen, hoping for a future that never needed humanity to become weapons again, but knowing deep down that if that day came, humanity would answer. They always did. That was both their greatest strength and their heaviest burden. The galaxy had learned its lesson. When all other options fail, when extinction looms, when hope seems lost, there is one last option. One final card to play, one solution that never fails. Release the humans and pray they fight for you, not against you. Because humanity unleashed is unstoppable, for better or worse, for salvation or destruction, unstoppable, the end.